each portion of the utilities itself, whether it's hydro somewhere, or big business, they are weighing accordingly.
Other comments on this? Yes.
I'm talking from the business community point of view. Just now we're talking about some restaurants and then retreat. So is there not just the Chinese just go to the Chinese restaurants, or they just do business among each other?
To the automobile companies, but those who are in business, would you think you have a fair chance to sell your services to the government, for example? Because everybody should have a fair chance. Things that just don't happen.
That is part of that. That is the task encouraging the economic development department that we are experiencing in China is really affecting our economy here, which is why a lot of companies are experiencing the impact on the area a lot, because this is the place that do a lot of training and economy people, not just experienced medical doctors. That we can use the expertise and support the Canadian companies to reap the better business advantage in other parts of the world.
I just want to make sure I give people a chance who haven't perhaps spoken anything. Richard, you want to?
I guess from the business standpoint, we are all struggling with trying to figure out and how organized the bureaucrats have always been. And sometimes how unaware of what goes on in some ministry. But then,
Where's Frank? Frank here? Frank? Where's Frank? Is Frank? Is he gone?
Frank and Blair?
Okay.
There's a power broke house.
Wait a minute.
Come and be in the picture.
Wait a minute.
One by one as well. And I'd like to have one of those, if you don't. Okay, everybody got what they need? We're going to be doing of this kind to reach out to different parts of what, of course, as you all know, is a very diverse community now, and to try to have a chance to talk to the leadership and to some people from that community about some of the issues of interest to them. And so we started. The first of these meetings is with people from the Chinese community, and we had an excellent discussion that talked about health care quite a bit, long-term care and care for the elderly. We talked about business-related issues and some of the things that government does that get in the way of business and make it harder for business to do well. We talked about community safety, and we talked about a number of other topics that people raised, government finances and taxes. But those were the kinds of topics we talked about. It was a very open and candid discussion. I got a lot of very helpful advice from people, and I'm very glad that I did this in many different respects. I invited all of the people here to become involved in our policy development process, which began about a month ago, which will take about a year and a half and culminate in our having a platform for the 2007 election. And I invited them, whether they belong to the party or not, and many of them don't, of course, that I need their ideas and I want their ideas and I want them to become involved in the policy development process and in the party if they wish, and I'm very hopeful that some of them will say yes to that, but I found the discussion very productive today notwithstanding. So over to you.
So are you planning to make this kind of meeting on a regular basis or expand the scope of people coming to attend?
Yes, I'm going to, really what I wanted to do is get a group of people together like this, and the very last point I made to them before we left today to go to the reception was that I want them to suggest other places where we can meet more people and broaden out the kind of advice that I'm getting so that they can in turn take me or suggest I go to other places in the Chinese community. And of course I'm going to be repeating this exercise in the South Asian community and a whole variety of other communities that make up the diversity that is Ontario today. And so the answer to your question is yes.
So how frequent would it be?
Well, I think even in the next month, I'm doing 3 of these in the next 4 weeks, so I'm doing almost one every 10 days or so, and I think we'll probably try to maintain that pace as best we can because, as soon as you finish covering the, 10 or 15 biggest communities, then I think the ideas that flow from those meetings are going to start to happen, and they'll say, well, now you come here or come there and meet a bigger group of people, or come to a meeting that's happening within the community that we want you to listen to. And I'm really anxious to spend a lot of my time as leader of the opposition listening, because I think it will better prepare me to be the government in 2007 when the next election comes.
So there's a lot of topics. What's the mostly heard concern in the meeting just happened?
I would say that the three topics that probably were the most important were healthcare, the situation facing immigrants who come to Canada now, especially those with some skills, but even those without very many skills, the trouble they're having finding a job and supporting their families, and what government is or is not doing to help them. And then thirdly, the obstructions that stand in the way of business doing well. High taxes, excessive regulation, too much time spent dealing with government red tape. I would say those were the three most prevalent themes that people shared with me here today.
So what the deficit of the province of Ontario? You're urging MPs in Ottawa to press on the funding gap. Have you discussed this in here?
Yes, it came up today. I think what people said was there is just no question. For example, they said business was quite slow in Chinatown. They pointed out to me there's a lot of restaurants for sale right now. And they said that part of the reason for that is the taxes are so high that people just aren't able to keep up. And so that is a reflection of the fact that the federal government has a huge amount of money. It's accumulating in a big surplus, and it's not finding its way to the province or to the city to keep taxes at that level lower and to keep services properly funded. And so I think it's all related together. Taxes rise in the city because the city doesn't have enough money from elsewhere to pay for its programs. And so I think it's very much related to the funding gap. And as you know, I've been supportive of Mr. McGuinty on the substance of the funding gap and on the need to deal with it. I've been supportive of him, and I will continue to be supportive of him, even though I have a few ideas on how we might do it a bit differently than he's doing it at present.
So is this a strategic move in support of the coming election, the federal election?
No, it has nothing to do with the federal election. I have my own agenda that I have to pursue. I'm the leader of the opposition at Queen's Park. I am the party that people will be looking to as an alternative government when the election comes in that year. And so I have to reach out to as many people as I can, listen to as many people as I can as part of just getting to know the community better across Ontario and formulating our own policies. So this is entirely to do with Ontario politics and my role as leader of the Ontario PC Party and leader of the opposition.
So
I'll let some of the others perhaps have a chance here.
Talk about the election, and then how you prepare to invite more Chinese candidate for you?
Well, that's one of the points I made today to the group that was here. I said that I very much wanted them to be involved in our policy development process starting immediately, and I said to them today that I'm very committed to having this party run a team of candidates that looks like the community that it's trying to serve. And that means finding a lot more people to run for this party who are people that are from China, from Asia, from Hong Kong, from South Asia, from all over the world really, because we have a community here in Ontario that is made up of people from 120 different countries, and I want to make sure that while we may not have all 120 represented on our slate, that we have a strong representation from communities around the world that have come to choose Canada and Ontario as their home.
Okay, somebody has suggested a better ethnic representation in the executive committee of the PC. Somebody has suggested it, isn't it? So what's your view on that?
Well, I think we actually made some progress this last time. We just elected a new executive, and we have some representation from communities that make up the diversity of Ontario on that executive, perhaps better than was the case before. But I don't think it's good enough yet. I don't think we have enough voices from enough different backgrounds within the confines of our party. That's why I'm having these meetings, because I want to invite people who may not have been involved in politics at all before to come and be a part of the PC party. I'm not asking them necessarily to sign a party card. I said we would welcome their ideas as part of the policy development process, even if they never join the party. I'd obviously love to have their support. I'd love to have some of them running as candidates, but we'll see. You have to reach out to people first and make sure they feel welcome, and that was the principal purpose of today's meeting and all of the ones that will follow in the months ahead from all of the groups, including more meetings with the Chinese community. We're not going to be electing a new executive for the party until 2 more years from now. We just did it in February. But I can tell you right now that I'm looking to have a much more diverse roster of candidates for this party at the time of the next election than we've had in previous years, because I'm going to make a big effort to make sure those people feel welcome, they feel encouraged to run for this party, they feel like they're partners in the policy development process, and they want to be in Parliament representing their community and representing this party. And I'd be very proud to have them, and I intend to do everything I can to make sure it happens.
Okay.
Okay.
So about the budget again. So right now the Liberal 2 level, federal and provincial is not very good. They're fighting for more budget. If the next government's 2 level is PC, so you have confidence to fight more budget for Ontario?
Well, I'm trying to help Mr. McGuinty right now because it's right for Ontario, and I think that it shouldn't be about fighting. I mean, he and Mr. Martin seem to be fighting with each other. It's unusual that a progressive conservative leader like me would be one of the referees trying to help out, but I just think it's right for Ontario. But I think what you have to do is not advance your cause in a fighting, confrontational way, but sit down with the other level of government and discuss your mutual responsibility to look after the needs of Ontario taxpayers. Because it's only one set of taxpayers, and they fund 3 levels of government, and they expect those governments to work well with each other to get the job done for them. And so that's the posture I would adopt, and if there was a Conservative government in Ottawa and I was a progressive Conservative Premier of Ontario, I would say that my number one responsibility on behalf of people in Ontario is to work well with the other governments, the municipal governments and the federal government, to make sure the interests of those people who I'm responsible for in Ontario are looked after. Hopefully there's no need to fight. Discussion yet with each other before we turn to fighting. It seems like the fighting is the first thing that happens. People just issue press releases and write nasty letters to each other before they've even had a meeting. And it's just not my style. I think you get more things done by spending the time and just sitting in a room and working and working and working with people until you get a solution. You don't walk out of the room until you get one. And that's more the kind of style that I would bring to government. But in the meantime, I'm helping Ontario's efforts to try and get more financial assistance because I think it's appropriate that we should get that assistance.
You suggested a long-term solution approach, but we need the money immediately.
Well, no, but I've said that very clearly. But I think the worst thing we could do, the worst thing Mr. McGuinty could do, and the worst thing that could happen to the province of Ontario is to get one check to satisfy us for this year and then find that, well, that would make us feel good in the short term and it would help. We need the money now. But then to find next year we're sitting here saying, well, we have to start all over again. What we need to have is, yes, some short-term help, but we need to have a long-term change made so that we don't get right back into this terrible mess again. And that's what I've been talking about, is you need to sit down with the other government and work something out in the long term as well as addressing the short term. And I think most of the focus of Mr. McGuinty's comments and the debate he's having back and forth within the Liberal family have been focused on short-term considerations. And those are important, but they're not everything. In fact, the long-term considerations are really more important in many respects because we might find a solution that actually lasts for a long time instead of one that lasts for a few weeks. Thank you very much for coming.
其實最重要咧係我哋個黨領袖咧係肯出嚟接觸咗我哋社區，肯聽取我哋社區嘅意見，呢個係好重要。講乜嘢其實內容咧就唔係話咁重要，最緊要咧佢係喺即係好真誠咁對我哋咧接受我哋嘅意見。咁我哋頭先講咧就講係即係教育醫療治安其實咧每一次即係政府咧最大嘅問題都喺呢幾方面嘅。咁因為每人嘅意見唔同，佢肯接納咧，其實係一個其實喺對我哋社區係好嘅開始啦。
講得最多嘅邊個？
最多係 health 啦，因為佢都係因為佢佔個預算都好大，同埋咧係接觸嘅人口咧都係好多。咁喺 health 即係喺醫療方面咧，除咗係醫院醫生咧，仲有好多家居護理好多物理治療嗰啲即係喺另類治療而家最香嗰啲咧就係中醫啦，中醫合法化咧，咁都有提到嘅。咁因為佢都好接納我哋意見，咁佢又會慎重咁考慮，如果保守黨係即係當到政嘅話咧，咁佢就會即係再會考慮即係點樣去實施呢幾方面嘅問題。
頭先就話咧，即係冇 start 呢個 process 咧，就係為2007年咧一路做啲 platform 啦嚇。咁但係
呢個因為我哋有即係我諗唔係話就係華人嘅代表，而係少數民族嘅代表喺呢個保守黨裏邊係咪可以反映到我哋而家嘅社區嘅轉變咧？我諗就未足夠。但每一個機構每一個黨咧，如果需要轉佢個黨綱或者轉佢個形狀，即係形態係需要時間，唔可以話一步登天。我諗唔會可以，亦唔可以因為我哋需要有個唐人或者需要黑人喺我哋呢個機構咧，我哋就會周圍去揾一個出嚟就提升佢上去個黨。我諗呢個我都唔會好就成，因為能者居之。你上個位咧，譬如我要揾個唐人，係咪一定要劉炳成先得？未必係。能者居之就因為嗰個人去到個黨係幫到黨做緊乜嘢咧？可唔可以發揮個黨嘅工作咧？係去吸收黨，即係話吸 州社區裏邊嘅人才咧，即係可以由社區帶動嗰個影響力嘅，呢個好緊要，唔係因為咧係需要嗰個代表性你就去你個背景係點，唔理佢嗰個 qualification 點就去提升嗰個人，我覺得就唔係咁啱。
佢有冇即係會考慮大翻多少人？因為你係即係代表 population 嘅啫，即係
佢即係佢好多時都會係stress 咧，就係咧即係刻意咁提到咧，就係能者居之，佢會俾好多機會啲少數民族，只係咧你要參與。你唔參與，我點樣俾機會你嘅？你冇辦法可以俾機會。
但係點樣揾到人啊？點樣揾到人出嚟機制有冇需要考慮過？
嗱，好似呢度而家即係教育咧，即係呢個常識，好似而家開呢啲咁嘅會咧，咁我哋會帶翻個信息出去嘅。譬如你哋即係傳媒咧，可以再將信息帶出去保守黨 John Tory 有同個社區接觸過，俾意見呢個黨魁嘅，而個黨魁又係好誠意去接受呢啲咁嘅意見咧，呢個已經喺社區有一個影響力。咁希望透過依類嘅宣傳，透過依類嘅集會咧，我哋可以俾社區一個形象咧，就係我哋個黨咧都係可以接納少數民族。
John Tory 頭先佢就話咧，佢對於即係呢個即係多啲代表喺度，但係都係好但係頭先會上有冇講到具體啲？
好具體，因為我哋太多嘢要講，因為今次第一次提議到呢個聚會啊，即係佢係每一個族裔咧都會有呢個咁嘅聚會，就聽取呢個少數民族嘅意見。咁我覺得都唔需要話我哋少數民族，因為我哋有不同嘅意見即係我哋唐人社區咧有唐人社區嘅意見，咁應該要有機會咧反映俾我哋社區我哋個黨領袖聽。咁佢肯俾呢個機會我哋，其實係好嘅開始，我覺得係好好。
佢淨係聽冇咩有啲邊方面有具體少少嘅回應，話會諗下或者真係會。
佢因為佢而家唔係執政嘅，所以而家佢都係搜集意見嘅時候，咁每有人講都唔同，所以佢唔會有咩 commitment 俾你，唔會又話因為醫療開支大啦，我哋要減啦，或者醫療開支唔夠，呢邊方面唔夠，佢又要增加。咁佢應該係咧搜集咗意見，然後佢再商量有個政綱出嚟。咁即係大選嗰時咧，有個比較完善嘅政綱，同埋呢個政綱咧係可以當個黨咧成立個黨政治嗰時咧就可以實行，就唔係好似咧左右搖擺，上到即係我執咗政，然後我先睇下我政綱我咪行。咁
聯邦個 funding gap 咧，嗰個保守黨。
咁政治嚟講冇話政治永遠有政治遊戲，有政治嘅打戲喺度。咁邊方面可以增加你個黨嗰個民心民意咧？咁你係會做任何事情你都要去做，因為呢個就係你可以話遊戲規矩，係嘛？即係你唔做嘅，其他個黨會做。咁變咗，如果你認為咧呢個係可以爭取個民意咧，你係會做任何嘢去爭取，即係得到呢個民意。
那么主要就是我们这些全部少数民族人，全部多半都是中国人，要跟他对话，有关我们中国人的这些 issues， 那么一共是大约一共是2个钟头，最后我觉得是蛮好的一个沟通交流，那么这些一共有大约28个人，那么这些都是所谓的华人的精英，各行各业，那么每个人都表示了一些意見，我覺得是非常好的一個對話。
今次個雙方呢條咧，嗰個實際效果點樣？
實有幾好啊，係好過開始，因為反映我哋嘅黨魁咧係比較咧肯接觸我哋所謂少數民族嘅意見，聽取我哋有咩唔同嘅要求咁即係變咗咧，佢如果係實施政綱或者草案嗰時咧咁我哋即係會顧及到我哋呢邊嘅利益咯。
即係你意思即係話今日討論嘅嘢可能會將來
會啊，呢個就係佢嘅作用啦，即係呢啲咁嘅 meeting。
咁然之後
年嘅省選，你估張超有機會贏？
機會好大，我哋一定會支持我哋嘅黨魁。
咁但係華人參選，譬如而家你哋會唔會有幾多人出嚟？
而家未知㗎，有即係你都知，即係華人社區咧，唔到最後尾嗰日都唔會俾你知道邊個想出嚟參選。咁好多時咧就要到即係大選嗰日咧先會有人出現。
咁即係照你講嘅，即係進黨輪替，而家呢步，下次會有保守黨。
係有咁嘅可能啊！咁啊，希望大家即係多啲華人出嚟參選啊！最緊要即係我哋參與啫嘛。你如果肯參與我哋社區嘅活動咧，其實對我哋個華人社區係好一個大動力。
你只係參與有邊幾方面？
參與啦！你冇話你譬如可以參與政治啦，政治裏邊好多嘢啦，你可以做義工啦，可以入每個選區嘅選委啦，入黨嘅黨委啦，即係好多嘢做嘅其實即係頭先我哋領袖講到呢個即係政治嘅機構嚟講咧，係無限量歡迎義工。
咁你會唔會參加下次省選？
我諗我唔會。
你對今次嘅 meeting 有咩睇法？
我覺得咧，阿 John Tory 咧，佢係一個好中意聽民意嘅一個嘅領導嘅 leader，咁所以變咗咧，佢咧就收取我哋各方面嘅意見啦。咁今次我覺得都有好多好尖鋭嘅issue，我哋都希望能夠佢能夠 deal with嘅，譬如好似公務員方面啊，我哋點樣去獎勵佢哋？如果係同我哋慳到啲錢嘅，有啲獎勵啊，或者對於呢個醫療方面啊，亦都對於我哋嘅青少年方面咧，我哋都有一個非常之好大嘅計劃。咁因為咧，佢如果而家佢要2007年要選嘅時候咧，佢咧就會要而家咧做咗好多 policy。咁佢 policy 方面咧，佢就一定要配合到我哋嘅民意，同埋咧了解我哋我哋嗰啲草根階層嘅市民咧有啲咩嘅提議啊，大家出嚟咧就群策群力咁樣變咗咧就會係一個好好嘅效果。
咁你估計2007年咧華人參選者會幾多人？
我希望咧就07年嘅華人參選者咧就會多啦，因為咧其實我哋呢個嘅少數族裔方面咧，我哋要喺個國會裏邊咧、省議會裏邊咧嚟到代表我哋嘅聲音嘅話咧，我哋一定要有一個好努力嘅一齊去爭取嘅，因為我哋少數族裔雖然話係喺多倫多嚟講，喺安省嚟講都係好多，但係咧我哋都係要有呢啲咁嘅人要出嚟，要肯付出先至可以能夠參與。
咁你估即係大省選咧，保守黨有機會贏？
保守黨機會贏咧會好高嘅，因為我哋你睇下而家我哋嘅自由黨佢哋本身做得都唔係咁好啦，咁而咧阿 John Tory 咧佢係一個好有生意經驗嘅商界經驗嘅商家嚟嘅，咁變咗我哋開源節流方面咧，我哋都有特別嘅新嘅突破嘅時候咧，我諗佢哋嘅機會會非常之高。我會唔會競選？希望啦，咁我如果係有咁嘅天時地利人和咧，我都會考慮加入呢個行列，咁希望大家支持啦。